everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Against All Odds. And as I say at the beginning of every podcast, it's purely selfish. The reason why I record these interviews, because I like to speak to inspirational people, and today is no exception. I'm so excited that he's here. Welcome, Andy Casey. How are you, my lovely?
I'm good, Amy. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Now, we've been having a good chat before the podcast. You constantly make me smile, mate.
Oh, thanks.
You're just one of those people that brighten up the room. So I always ask people every interview at the start is, when you are helping people like you are, there's always a big reason why. You don't kind of just generally fall into coaching and helping people. So tell me your journey and why you started coaching.
Well, I'm doing it all for the money, and I want to get a Ferrari. Ferrari would be good, but you can't put the dogs in the Ferrari.
No.
Pointless. Anyway, let's get rid of that dream. For me, my journey really started a few years back, actually. It's bizarre how when you look at the timeline of your life, I feel like, so probably 4 or 5 years ago, I had a epiphany bridge moment where I was standing in front of my wife. We were running a business. We've been running a business together for 15 years, and the shit hit the fan. And I just said to her, "Can't do this anymore." And we were just at a point where we were working such close proximity with each other. And we would do the school runs together. And I had this, what I could, in my mind, what I had was freedom. I used to take my daughter to school every day, pick her up every day. I was one of the, I suppose, the odd ones out at school, because I was one of the dads in the playground. And that for me has always been important. But in the evening, I'd go back to work, and then I'd work till like 11 o'clock at night, or we'd just be burning the candle at both ends. And not to sound kind of like a cliche, but I just got to a point where I wasn't loving what I was doing for my job. And then I was then being a bit of a ratty bugger as well. I was kind of almost, my wife was in the process of setting up a business at the same time. And I was kind of almost not letting her be her, because it was just like everything was clashing. So I kind of took a little bit of a shift, and having that conversation with her on that particular day. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because the first thing she said after we had the chat, we had a big hug, and she just said, "Oh, I thought you were going to ask for a divorce." I was like,
No.
I was like, "No, like, she's my best mate. Like, love her to the moon and back." Felt like, oh, what's that? That's Truly Madly Deeply, isn't that Savage Garden?
That's it, yeah.
Quoting lyrics then.
Back in the day, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just told everyone my age. So basically, it was from that moment that I basically I used to, about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a big banner, a board in my studio, because I had a gym in my studio, which is a photography and video studio, and it just said, "Get your shit together, Casey." And I used to have it up on the wall. And weirdly, when I shut that studio last year, I ripped it up, because I was like, done. So basically from there, I basically started working with various different coaches myself, and kind of worked on my own mental health. I tried like journaling and meditating and so forth for a little while, and then I worked with another coach, who I kind of really kind of got more into it. And then from there, I kind of I wasn't really looking to become a coach at that point. I just knew that I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing in life. And I basically got to a point where I was like, I went to an event. I went to Expert Empires.
Yeah.
We were there with Morty, and Susie Ashworth was there as well. And it was just a really inspiring weekend. And it's really weird, because like the whole for me, that kind of event isn't really normally my kind of bag. But I think what I took away from it was the fact that knowing what I know, and knowing how my life has changed through accountability, through everything I do, I was like, I was like, do you know what? I really want to kind of start helping other people. I've spent years working with in my business, and within like the business, we're creating video and photography solutions for people that are actually helping their business grow. And in the process, I'm not really feeling like mine was growing. So I was like, well, how can I kind of work with other people? And I was, as we were coming back from London, I was driving home, and I don't know if you've ever had one of these moments before where you're in a car with someone and you suddenly think, shit, like the radio's not on. We're not listening to music. And like me and my other half always listen to music when we're going along. My daughter hates it when we sing all the songs that she hates. Although I have got her into Limp Bizkit, which is pretty cool. She's 12 years old.
Okay,
Yeah. Anyway, and we just got like, we must have been traveling for like 2.5 hours, and Kate just went, you've got to do this, right? And I was like, do what? She's like, you're a coach. And I was like, it was at that moment that like, even now, like I get chills thinking about it. I was like, you think? Like, oh, right, okay. So I kind of looked into it, and I've done various different courses over the last couple of years. And then I did my NLP Master Practitioner course, which I absolutely loved. And I've had like the pleasure of going to a couple of Paul McKenna events, and I got to meet, you can't see him there, but there's my little reminder. I got to meet Richard Bandler last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I've done some, I've just been on another program for the last 10 months. And I just constantly, for me, for a long time, for a fair amount of time, it was about my development. And now it's like my skills development that I've done over the last couple of years. So yeah, that kind of is my moment of me becoming kind of the coach that I am today. Yeah, and I absolutely freaking love it. I get to see people win at life, and I get to see people like take control of their dreams, desires, goals. It's just, incredible. I love it.
Yeah, because it's like when you said about burning the candle at both ends, so many people are like that. And I think it's society believes that life should be like that as well. It's quite odd.
Well, do you know what? There's a guy who I used to follow. Well, I still follow him, and he's a massive inspiration to me, because it was probably back a few years ago. It was at the photography and video show, and I was chatting to this particular guy, and I just clicked with him, and he said to me, we were chatting about business. It was like a little mastermind type workshop type thing, and he just said, yeah, you've got unfinished business with your parents, don't you? And I just went, what? Like, whoa. And like the feeling like you're not enough, and all the limiting beliefs that most of us, we think, oh yeah, I'm an adult now. That's all in the past. And he was one of those people who forever was posting, 2 a.m. I'm in the office, and I'd be like, yeah, because I want to be like that guy, because he's awesome, and he is awesome. And to be fair, I've seen him make a change on his socials now, which is really interesting. But yeah, like we do this naturally, don't we? Because when we talk about like procrastination, for me, I'm great at it. I'm a musician and a songwriter as well, so I could be stuck on a lyric, and I can just be like, I could be walking around for days, and I just can't get that. But it's it's like that buzzing feeling that you've got to get it done. So that's what's happened with me with work for years.
Yeah,
it's just like, I want to get this done. And the thing is, I've always wanted to over please people. So if I was filming an edit for a client, as soon as I get back, I've got to empty the memory cards. I want to have a quick look at the files, and then I'll take them a picture just to say, oh, I've got the files on my computer. And then I've said to people before, well, when do you need the project by? And they're like, oh, as soon as you can, really. Well, that's never been mentioned up until today, so I'll get it done as soon as I can. And in the process, I'll not go to the kid's birthday party, or I'll not go to, I'll not go and watch my daughter swimming. And then you just think, hang on a minute, when I get paid for this, that's so I can spend more time with them, and I'm not spending more time with them. Easily done, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? You've mentioned two things I wanted to talk about there. People pleasing, right?
That's a great song by Cat Byrne. I love that song.
I'm going to Google that afterwards because I don't know that one. But people pleasing is my, now I'll hold my hands up.
Mm-hmm.
I was a people pleaser and didn't realize I was a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can remember sitting on a masterclass one day, and they went through this list of, do you do this, 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 this?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd gone on this masterclass going, oh, I've got this in the bag.
Yeah.
I'm not a people pleaser. I came out mortified,
Yeah.
literally. And now I can recognize it in so many other people as well. But we have this odd view of people pleasing, like it's kind, it's generous.
Mm-hmm.
We're the kind of people that do everything for everybody, but it's really damaging, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I've talked about this quite a few times to people, and I kind of sometimes I'll bring this up to like kind of give this example to clients. Before I was born, my sister passed away, and she was only 5.
Right.
And my dad, as long as I can remember, has always been a drinker. And my mum has always been really heavily involved in the church. And
Right.
she's the sort of person who will she will do anything for everyone. And I've kind of almost like, I've kind of, I suppose I've kind of learned a lot from her. I mean, she is the nicest person you probably ever meet, because she'll do anything to help anyone. But it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I really realized that that might have been for her part of her kind of support network, because she was helping everyone, therefore she was busy, right? And ironically, one of my other lessons that I kind of learned from that as well is that when I was a kid, I used to not really like that my mum went to church. It used to be like, oh, she's off with them again, like she's off busy. But that was her community, that was her support
Yeah.
work, and that's why for me, community and support is like, oh wow, okay, who's in my circle? Because my dad didn't really have that as a, when you think like the 70s, end of the 70s, like parents like barely even, men barely even wiped bums. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there wasn't really that support network, and it's okay to talk. It wasn't okay to talk about them, was it?
No, no. No, interesting enough about saying about your mum going to church. So, from a brain's perspective, people actually have less cognitive decline if they go to church. It's nothing to do with religion; it's purely the community and people interact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I completely get that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's quite
But
funny you're saying about brains. Your brain looks so big on your screen. I can actually see it behind you. It's crazy.
I love that. I work hard to get it this size.
Wow. I heard something really cool yesterday, and I'm going to say it, and it's going to be wrong. I was listening to Dan Sullivan,
Yeah.
and he was talking about how my brain never gets any bigger, but my mind has grown extensively over the years. I was like, oh, I like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah. I love a bit of neuroscience.
Yeah.
Another thing that you mentioned is about limiting beliefs from parents.
Mm-hmm.
How many people, again, had baggage there, and I didn't realise I had it until somebody pointed it out. That's a bit of a shocker.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do you want to hear about one of my limiting beliefs?
yeah, absolutely.
So, I used to have this, and this is one of the amazing tools with NLP. I love this. So, I don't know if have you ever done any timeline therapy?
No, I don't even know what it is.
So basically, timeline therapy is essentially where you will go back and you'll do like a visualization, and you'll go back to a moment in the past where a limiting belief particularly happened, right? So mine was that as a kid, because of my sister had passed away when I was a kid, well, before I was born, sorry, I always kind of felt like the afterthought. So I always felt like, okay, like if my mum and dad hadn't lost my sister, would I have been born? And
Right.
I've had conversations with my mum before about this, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we always would have had another child." But in my mind, I was always going, yeah, "But would it have been me?" Like, and
Yeah.
I know, it's silly because even as an adult now, I'm like, "Wait, you would never know." Do you know what I mean? You'd never know, would you? So I went through this kind of whole thing of like basically feeling like I wasn't wanted. And I did this on I was actually coached by another NLP coach. We did this moment where I got to this part in my history where I was at my home where I was a kid, and I'd gone back and I got asked, basically you go back to this earliest memory, right? And I'd gone back to this moment. I remember sitting in front of the fire at home. And even in my mind now, when I say that, I can smell like the gas fire. You know,
Yeah.
it was a log, it had logs on it, but it was a gas fire. And I my mum had these old dolls that were my sister's. Now my sister had action men and some like Barbies. Anyway, she brought them down and she kind of opened them up, and it was obviously, maybe I was, I don't know, 5, 6, 7. I might even have been younger, but anyway, so I said to, I opened them up, and even to this day, I'm like, did I make this up? Like when I came off the call, I was like, was that even real? Anyway, I could look down, I could see these like orangey flannelette pajamas that I was wearing, right? Very kind of like probably what you can imagine people would be wearing in the 80s. Um, excuse me. And I could like feel them. Like when I've got my eyes closed, I'm like, this is weird. Anyway, and I opened the bag, and in this bag was either an Action Man figure or a Barbie, but I remember this as a kid playing with these, and one of them was broken, and I just went, "Oh, Mum, this one's broken," and she shouted at me and told me off for breaking it and she said these were your sisters, rah, 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 and she kind of told me off because of um they weren't mine and they weren't mine to break, kind of thing.
Right.
Anyway, I kind of came in this. You basically do this process of you then tell your younger self something that they would not understand now, what they wouldn't possibly know. And I told myself that I was wanted, and I am enough. And my mum was only upset because they were my sisters. They'd been in the loft for probably 10 years at that point. And yeah, I came out of the meditation, like even to this day, like when I see my mum now, I don't feel like that. There's no barrier there like they used to feel like. Anyway, fast forward to the conversation with my mum. My mum's like, yeah, you did have you won't have been old enough to remember those pajamas. And I'm like, whoa. She was like, yeah, and you would have played with them. And she goes, yeah, I think some of them were broken. And I'm like, okay. Almost to the point of like, did I just make all of this up? But no, like my mum's confirmed the story, and she says I probably wasn't even young enough to remember that.
Oh, you see, that's why I love the brain. Like literally, it can do that, but it locks it away as well. So if you found something traumatic, I mean, the brain avoids pain like you would not believe and heads towards pleasure, which can actually be quite damaging, like for like people like addicts and things like that. But it tends to lock painful memories away.
Absolutely. And do you know what the crazy part about it is as well? Is like, if that's the stuff I've worked on, imagine all the stuff that people like, little things that they haven't worked on, you know.
Yeah.
I used to have this teacher at school, and my mum only recently funny enough, I talked about this on Harry Purdy's podcast actually, but my teacher on school report said the lights are on. The problem is with Andrew, the lights are on, but no one's home. And it was like, even then, it was like, basically, yeah, there's no one in there. You're stupid. Like, and that's how I felt at school because it didn't interest me, you know. So it's interesting, like the memories that you've got that then affect you later in life. And they say, don't they, from the age of 0 to 7 years is when we gain all these beliefs.
Yeah, it's funny because one of mine was like doing like a podcast and public speaking. And when I worked,
I hear you're quite good at that now.
I'm quite good at this now. I actually get paid to do it as well, which is quite funny because I look back at the teachers.
Am I supposed to pay you?
I look back at the teachers now, and all of my reports was talks too much.
Yeah.
So I developed like this kind of fear that it'll be like I'm talking too much. But funny enough, I had a limiting belief that I had no idea I'd got until somebody started asking me questions and then pointed it out. So my limiting belief was that I couldn't own a business and have a happy family life at the same time. So when I was about 8, my dad owned his own haulage company, and I saw the family break down. Now, all I saw was him working late and then them getting divorced. I didn't know at that age he'd been cheating, right? And that's actually why they split up. But my brain had put working late, own business, family breaking down. So I'd always had a fear of, right, okay, so I've got Ben and I'm a mum, so I can't possibly do that. And it wasn't until somebody pointed out to me that that's what it was. I was like, oh my God, I've been carrying around this like for years. Like,
yeah. And do you know what? It's over the years, and more so, I mean, my mum used to always say the limiting beliefs that she used to ingrain on me is as long as you've got enough money to pay the bills, Andrew, that's all that matters. Luckily for me, that one wasn't all that matters. And, you know, although I'm not a particularly material person, like, I don't want to just keep the wolf from the door. Do you know what I mean? So, but even now, you know, I actually had a client of mine who owed me in my media business probably about a year ago, and I said to her, oh, they're still not paid me. And it was at a point where, like, okay, they still not paid me. They're like 20 weeks late. And I'm like, you know, you start to rely on other jobs, and you know, you've got the whole robbing Peter to pay Paul thing. And she said, well, you see, you know, you might have to go and get a job. And I was like, why would I want to get a job? I've not had a job. Like, I don't want to work. Like, I get to spend my time with my daughter, and like I joke about not having a job because I love what I do, and that's, you know, that's the beauty of loving what you do, isn't it? So exactly. Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, isn't it? You know, when you have these like little tiny little limiting beliefs ingrained in you as a kid, you know.
Yeah, and like you say, it's so easy with just getting it from what parents say. A big one for people is actually I want never gets. So people are worried about saying, actually, I want that. So wanting something, it's almost selfish.
Yeah. It's like it's like when I used to, what's the you don't want it, you don't need it, you want it. I'm like, yeah, damn right, I want it. Damn right, I want that holiday. Because what does that holiday mean? It means I've worked hard. It means I've created this life that I want to live and love with my family. So yeah, damn right, I want that holiday. I don't need that holiday.
Yeah, absolutely with you on that. So, as you said before, so you work with people that are burning candle at both ends.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that are listening to this can absolutely resonate that they need to do something about it. How do you even start to put that kind of lifestyle down? Because like I say, it is a society thing. It is considered normal. Burnout is considered just part of life.
Yep.
How do you even start?
So one thing I get people to go back to, when especially when we in the early stages of working with me, is really kind of finding out that why, and the why you started. So if you're in a career that you absolutely love, why did you start this career? Like, why?
Yeah.
Because you know, I know weirdly I talk about the why quite a lot, and I've never read Simon Sinek's book, so
That's a good book. You should read it.
Is it? Oh good.
Yeah.
But you know, it is that whole thing for me. It's like when you know your purpose and your drive, then you can kind of go, well, hang on a minute. So are you living the life you love? And it's like, if it's a yes, then okay, great. But why aren't you now spending that time with the family that you need to? Or why aren't you going on the holidays that you want? Because again, you know, although I do work mainly with parents, you know, I work with people who are single as well, and they do exactly the same. They're at home on their own. They work, you know, burn the candle at both ends, and then they don't get to maybe leave the job they want because their side hustles, they can't work the two together. So I think for me, it's finding out, like, or really working on that kind of, why did you start?
Yeah.
You know, why did I want to be a dad? I wanted to be a dad because, you know, if I'm completely honest, I wanted to kind of have that connection with, you know, my wife, my daughter, have those experiences, because I had great experiences with my parents growing up, and I wanted to kind of do that kind of thing again with my family, you know.
I love that. Yeah. Finding that why, isn't it? Because I think, you know, when we are, I mean,
exactly.
The world is so hectic. Like, it's one of the things that I speak about all the time. We are, as humans, we aren't designed to live in a world like we are. And the biggest thing is you kind of lose yourself in it all. You forget who you are, what you value.
Yeah.
Like you feel burnt out. Your confidence takes a big knock as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we just kind of end up just in that rat run, just going round and round and round. And we almost get into a thing of, well, that'll do mindset. This will do.
I've seen this as well with me because I've had moments where I've fluctuated with my gym trainer. I absolutely love fitness. I've never been super fit and I've never been kind of super in shape, but I've always like had a real drive for passion for fitness. But for me, I've had like the lulls where it went really, really well. I lost loads of weight. I lost like just over 20 kilos.
Wow, yeah.
And I was like, great. And then like it was kind of that, where you get those peaks and troughs. And for me, you get those moments where something goes great and then it like you crash. But my confidence, which is what we're going back onto then, was like my confidence dipped afterwards. I felt, as I started to put the weight on, I then didn't feel good about myself. And like I really struggled with, as a guy, I had people say to me, and I say this as a guy because that probably almost sounds like I'm trying to make an excuse of it, but I've always felt like, quite, what's the word? Like, when you tick the box, I never want to tick average.
Yeah.
No one wants to tick the box average, do they? I want to put muscular and yeah, I've always had this image in my head. I'm like Johnny, I want to be like Johnny Bravo, but with legs. And because he had the tiniest of legs, right? Anyway, so I remember when I got down to from 104 kilos down to 79, people were saying to me, "Oh, Casey, you look well skinny, mate. You need to eat some fucking food." And I just got the worst feeling. I felt so insecure. I had no confidence. Like it was almost like I just had to like when I then started to put weight on, I wasn't sure if it was for the right reasons. And so yeah, when people can easily have these dips in confidence, you kind of need to get back out of it, right?
Yeah, because I think that's it. You tend to take what other people say on board so much more if you are lacking in confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
Where if you gain confidence, but confidence isn't the easiest thing to build because a lot of people, if you say to somebody, right, so you want to be more confident, what does that look like for you? People struggle to answer that.
Yeah. And do you know what? When I first started as a coach, I started and I kind of pinholed myself as a confidence coach. And everyone, I had got a lot of inquiries from people saying, because I'm a musician, I'm always on stage, and people would be like, "Oh, are you sort of helping people like to like do talks and stuff?" And I'm like, no. For me, confidence is that stepping stone that as a parent, like those small little stepping stones that we take to do the stuff that we want to do and these achievements and goals and things that we strive towards. But for me, confidence is like tiny little shifts, do you know what I mean, that can just transform everything. And sometimes funny enough, when I first started, I started doing online Zoom calls for clarity calls for people, and I had a lady who messaged me and she said, I've never been on a Zoom call before. I don't really feel confident being on a Zoom. And I thought, wow, like, we're talking to people about working on confidence and growing in, as a person. And like, actually, this lady's like big hurdle was even going on Zoom, So
Yeah,
there's so many different stages of it that, yeah, it's tiny steps, isn't it? Right.
it is tiny steps, that next step. Because I think
Absolutely.
that's a struggle for people as well. Like they look at something that needs to change in their life. Let's just say we're doing the burning at candle both ends, and people are like, "Right, okay, I want more time off." Let's say they want to take a day off a
Yeah.
week extra. They want the family holiday.
Yeah.
They want to do this and that, and all of a sudden, it becomes like trying to climb Everest.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want to do that. It's too cold.
Oh no,
No.
I like walking, but we don't need to be doing that.
No. No. And to be fair, my watches tell me whether I've done enough exercise. So I don't need to just go for a walk for maybe. I've got dogs. I've got to walk with dogs every day.
It was you that recommended the Whoop band, isn't it?
Oh, you are on Whoop, aren't you? Oh, look at this. We're Whoop buddies. Oh my God. Do you watch Friends?
Yes.
You know, when Joey gives Chandler the bracelet, I was like, we're bracelet buddies.
Oh, do
This
you
has
know
been a
what? I do.
podcast, right?
Yeah. But because
This
I was a
thing's
bit.
changed my life. This thing has
Oh,
100% changed my life.
well, and afterwards I will send you a paper that they've done on neuroscience that links. So it's not specifically designed like to Whoop, but it's smartwatches in general, and they're
Mm-hmm.
saying like HRV and everything is great for your brain, and so they're
Mm-hmm.
backing it now because a lot of people like don't like technology, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like AI is taking over everywhere. But I think smartwatches, and I will say the Whoop band is very good, can absolutely not only does it help with your sleep and fitness and everything, but if you kind of nail that, you automatically feel better anyway.
So my wellness goal for this quarter is to stay in the green for 63 out of 90 days. I
Ooh.
would easily set myself that I'd easily sit in orange or amber. Never
Well,
really knew
that
what the difference is between orange and amber. They're the same, right?
yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I would easily sit in amber all day long, every day of the week, you know. But by noticing, for me, it's really kind of getting back into that. I listened to a podcast with a lady who was from Whoop, and I think it was with Stephen Bartlett, and she was just talking all about your circadian rhythm and just like the getting into the routine. So I stopped drinking coffee to a certain time. I started trying to go to bed earlier, but the big shift for me was getting up at the same time. My alarm goes off at
Yeah.
6 every single morning now, apart from yesterday when I had to go off at 5. And I get up. The first thing I do is meditate. Then it's like I call it meditate, then caffeinate, because everyone talks about, oh yeah, never hydrate before caffeinate, and I'm like, not if you love coffee. Come on,
Oh, I'm
I'm
a
still
coffee
going to drink
lover.
plenty of water.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I am a coffee lover.
But then I hit my planner in the morning, and then like I'm like by 6:30, I'm like I'm ready to go and like face the day. However, guess what happens at the end of the day? I feel tireder earlier. So now I've got this routine. And you know what? I'm literally like, what are we in today? Is it like the 9th?
Yeah.
And other than the fact I was away last week and was in a hotel, and I swear to God, if you check into a hotel, Whoop goes, no. And just like it knows. Like I had like 8 hours sleep the other day, and they were like the worst night's sleep I've had in ages. But it was like, you've had 8 hours sleep, but basically your recovery is 35%. And I was like, great.
Yeah, it knows
So it
everything,
knows.
doesn't
It
it?
knows.
It's like Big Brother. You can't get away with anything.
Yeah. But I've also noticed, especially with that, is making sure I'm hydrating every day,
Yes.
and the difference. But yeah, so I've got five days in the green out of 9 so far. So I'm like, oh, okay, I can, and I'm already looking at it going, oh yeah, I can see that I had a coffee that day, and it was like, because I've got it, so it says so in my journal that wherever I say like what point I had coffee in the day and stuff like that. So yeah, and again, it's just tracking those little steps, isn't it?
Yeah, and you have to listen to it though. That's the thing. You have to take it on board what it's telling you.
The thing is, this is the one thing that I've learned with all of these smartwatches. I've got the Garmin on one wrist and the Whoop on the other, but the reason I like it is because it could turn around and say to me, like, it could be 20-30% off, right? But it's my routine. So
Yeah.
even if it is off, I can use it as like, as a comparable for, oh, actually, that's what happened yesterday. This is what's happening today. So even if it is wrong, it's always the wrong in the routine that I've got. So that's why I love it, because you can't take it too seriously, because they're not going to be completely precise. But I tell you what, like I say earlier on, it has massively changed mine and my wife's life with like sleep patterns. Even like she can track like the menstrual cycle and everything on there. And it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that helps with the burnout and burning of the candle at both ends.
Yeah, exactly. And do you know what's really funny actually? Because I've just started working with a PT that I was working with a little while ago, and a previous PT that I worked with, we had a Whoop group, and I was like, oh, that would be cool, because you can see what everyone else is doing. It just spurs you on, right? It's it's not comparing yourself to them, but it's having the accountability that, oh,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, I want to make sure that I'm doing the right statistics, as it were, isn't it?
Right, you mentioned you do meditation. Do you do that every morning?
Every morning. I haven't missed a day this year.
How long do you meditate for?
How long?
Yeah.
Wow, it's interesting that you say that, because my goal for Q3 was to do 180 meditations, which I did. So morning and night. And I normally meditate somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes every day.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, I track them all, right? But I don't track I'm just going on a podcast with Amy. I'm going to do a quick 5 minute. I don't know if you're familiar with Yogi Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, he does a great one, which is called Release Your Fucks Meditation. And I
Oh,
love it, because it's almost like I'm all about pattern interrupt and interrupting people's thought processes. So for me, if I'm like, right, going on a podcast with Amy, weird. I'm weird. I'm the sort of person who brushes my teeth and puts deodorant on before a podcast, because I want to make sure that I'm getting in the zone,
do you
right?
know what? I had to message somebody the other day. I said, I've just realised I've got this really odd habit. So I've done this podcast weekly since April, right? And for some reason now I'm that the perfume, like it's smell-o-vision or something.
Yeah, but do you know what you've just created? You've embedded an anchor into your podcast.
Yeah.
So you've now got an anchor, so that every time you do the podcast, you're like, this podcast smells right.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
So I'm glad that you do the same. So what was
yeah,
that?
so I meditate anywhere between like 15 and 20 minutes every morning, consistently every single morning. And I try and do a meditation in the afternoon, but I used to kind of go, oh, I need to do one. I kind of do it now when I want to do the afternoon one. And I've worked with loads of different kind of meditation teachers. I've done the Joe Dispenzas, David G. I've even started writing a lot of my own meditations as well now, which is really cool.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so I've just finished a morning meditation one, which is all about creating. I've just been talking about this today, actually, because just saying how, like, when you show people gratitude, it's honestly, it changes your life.
Yeah.
It really does. And I say stuff to my daughter now because of when you're talking about gratitude. And I always wanted to kind of like really focus on being grateful in the morning. So I created this gratitude meditation. But at the end of it, it has an intention set. So you celebrate the 3 things you're grateful for. And then you kind of build on from that of what your intention today is. And the way I do it is I don't tell you what your intention should be. I just start with, like, you've obviously heard people say about the 2 most powerful words in the world are I and am.
Yeah.
So I just do this for this one. It's today I, and then they finish off the sentence. So in the meditation, it's just got me repeating today I.
Yeah.
And then there's a pause. And it's really weird, because for me, I'm always I feel most critical of, or so most vulnerable when I show my wife something, because I know she's not going to judge me, but in my mind, I'm like, oh, she's going to think I'm being silly. And she did the meditation. She was like, oh, I really like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But my daughter's even done quite a few meditations with us as well. And like, I had a really lovely moment. Must have been about a year ago, where Kate and I were doing a meditation, and my daughter was like, can I do a meditation as well? And we were like, yeah, cool. So we did, there was a meditation that we found called the bubble bath meditation. It's a kid's one. And it's wicked, because like, I'm a bit of an astral traveler when it comes to meditation.
Yeah.
So I swear I maybe in a previous life must have been like on acid tabs or something, because I can pretty much be like, I'm off. Yeah. And this meditation, you're in the bath, and like the bubbles are like overflowing, and then you get lifted up by the bubble and it takes you off. And we just did, I remember doing this meditation. I was lying on the floor with my wife and my daughter in my daughter's bedroom. And even just like sharing that experience with them, we're all on a different journey, but like it was just doing it together. So for me, it was like, yeah, meditation's amazing.
Yeah.
And I sometimes get a bit, you know, when like your words start to jumble because I'm like, I don't really explain it. Like I had a moment once where I was in my old studio where I have my photography and video business, and my wife was upstairs and I was downstairs and I was doing a meditation, and she just heard me go whoop, and I was like, and then afterwards I had to explain that I was lying on like a lilo in the sea, and I put my hand down and my hand was wet, and I was like, yeah. So
I love
like,
that.
it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And you know, it's like just being able to control, you know, people talk about, oh, I can't do meditation, I always end up thinking about stuff. And I'm like, thinking's okay.
Do you know what? I fell into that category. So I tried on and off for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sit there and all of a sudden it'll ping in, right, I must go and get a cooked chicken from Morrison's, or I must go and do this, or I must go and do that. So I binned it off, and it
I
was
want
actually,
chicken now, by the way.
oh, there you go. It was actually Joe Dispenza. I'd actually booked to go on one of his courses. And it was then I realised it's actually okay to think.
Do you want to know the biggest thing I've ever learned with meditation when it comes to like overthinking and stuff? If you you know, if you like you are doing that, you're lying there going like, close your eyes, you know, slow breath in or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, go to Morrison's, get chicken. Instantly like interrupt yourself and just like, so disassociate yourself from where you are. Imagine you're floating out your body and just looking down on yourself, lying in the position where you are, and just watch yourself meditating. And when you change your thought pattern and start listening to the meditation and watching yourself, I literally, that's where I properly go on these mad trips. And yeah, generally I think, you know, wicked.
I love that. And I'm glad because I've spoken about gratitude to somebody as well today. So I mean, it's the best thing that you can do for your brain. It's the best feeling you can have. And I always say to people, there's a trick to it though. So you have to think of something you're grateful for in the past. So it could have been yesterday, last week, 10 years ago. It doesn't matter. People you appreciate in the past. Then what's today? But then something that you're grateful for that's happened in the future. People struggle with that one because it sounds a bit woo. But it's all about directing your brain to what you want. And it's really powerful. And I've known people sit there and think about that and actually end up very emotional through happiness of having that gratitude.
So in that meditation that I do for the morning, I talk about having 3 things to be grateful for. What are you truly grateful for today? And it's, here are some suggestions. What are you grateful for? Where are you grateful for? And so for me, like the what is like, I'm grateful for example, you know, being able to work with people that I'm able to work with, or what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for adopting my daughter. Where am I grateful for? It's like, well, where is a place that I'm really grateful for? And it might even be, you know, the tree house I had in my garden when I was a kid. And then the last one is like, who am I grateful for?
Yeah.
Because there's so many people in our lives that we take for granted. You know, I'm forever grateful when I'm in the morning. I'm forever grateful writing down that I'm just grateful for my wife's support, because there aren't a lot of people in the world that would probably have like just like kind of sat by and watched their other half kind of go, do you know what, I'm going to shut down this business and I'm going to change everything, you know. So you know, that finding that who you're grateful for, and it could even be someone in a book, you know. If it's Noddy and Big Ears, then be grateful for Noddy and Big Ears. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I love that. I think you have to be specific as well. Because when we talk about like gratitude, well, a few years back, it was like a girly thing to do after all these gratitude journals came out. But it's like, again, going back to parents, you know, like if you didn't finish your meal, well, you should be grateful because people in another country haven't got that. And or you've got a roof over your head. And it was all got very non-specific and a bit same. So when you actually get really specific, and think about them moments and them people and that experience. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? When you're a kid, don't forget your P's and Q's. It used to be, for me, it used to be that thing of like it almost felt like a status thing, like posh kids say please and thank you.
Just weird.
Not just posh kids say please and thank you.
So for saying we got told some very odd things, we're not turned out bad people though.
No, exactly.
Oh, that's amazing. So right now, do you work with men and women?
Yeah. I did kind of take a little bit of a short time where I was only looking at working with just women. And for me, it felt because part of the reason I kind of got into all of this was because I wanted to help people like me. By people not helping people like me, I wasn't helping. If I said I was just helping just women, I wasn't helping people like me. Although I'm quite feminine, I want to help guys and women as well. And it is that thing for me. It's like I could easily niche it right down, but the parents like me, we've all been there as parents where we are, like I said earlier on, we're doing it all for the ones we love, but they're the ones who are getting further away from us.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and I've got to be honest, it's not nice.
It's not nice, no. And yeah, like I say, I think many people fall into that trap as well, and possibly don't realise until it's too late.
It's like try the way I like to describe that feeling, right, is imagine you're standing next to your child and just tell them you love them, right? But every time you say I love you, take one step further back from them. Gets really weird.
Right.
And like when you try it, I tried this with my wife, and we were talking about this. I was like, just imagine this, like I love you. Like nothing, the words haven't changed, but the distance has. And that's where like you start thinking to yourself, like, do the words mean anything anymore? Because I can't quite hear them in the same way. And that's the thing, you've got to be around the people you love to really embrace them and really kind of appreciate them. And again, that's when the closer you are, the more grateful you are, right?
Yeah. And I think it's that being aware of that as well, because you'll see so many people. I've been guilty of this as well, where you've gone like, okay, so I'm having family time. At the minute, my goal for Q4 is to have games nights. So we're playing Kaplunk and all sorts. Like that's quite fun. Kaplunk.
Retro.
Yeah, we had a game of Jenga as well. Jenga came out.
Have you got Marble Run as well?
Oh no! Oh, I could get that one.
A great game.
Could get that one. Because what had happened, and I go and put my phone now in the other room. Because people go, oh yeah, we're having family time, but then we start picking these up. So even though we are present in the room, we aren't really there. So that's another thing a lot of people are guilty of, which I fell into.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'm terrible on my phone because again, as the world and the industry that I'm in now is very kind of driven by social media. But it's very easy to go on and do my work and then go and like almost I hear myself chuckling and I think to myself, yeah, that is funny, mate, but why are you here? And it's like almost, and then I start asking myself like, well, but why are you here now? What was your purpose for coming on here? And then I would be like, next thing I hear is, Danny, you on your phone again? No. But by them holding me accountable as well and them knowing what those goals are, and I don't want to go on it.
Yeah. You've definitely got to make a conscious effort, I think, with phones. Like that's a society thing. But if you think about it, I believe our generation is worse. I mean, they blame kids being on it all the time, but they've learned it from us.
So do you know what's really interesting? My daughter absolutely loves Roblox, right?
Right.
I don't really like Roblox. I don't get it. I find it really immersive, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, I don't mind Mario, but when Mario went 3D and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But my daughter comes off of Roblox, and she goes from being this like delicious 12-year-old pre-nature, and she comes off of Roblox, and she's like, raw, and I'm like, whoa. But because we've started doing some stuff with her, like. She only gets an hour on it a day, but yet some of the kids on her school get a lot more, and she thinks that's unfair. But then for me, I've actually just recently switched it now. So when she gets off the bus, my diary is blocked out from 4 p.m. So from 4 p.m., Daddy doesn't work anymore. I do in the weekends. I'm if I'm out and I'm gigging or I'm like doing a show or something, then yeah. But so what we've noticed is when we kind of really work with her and do stuff and have stuff to do with her, she doesn't care about the tablet. The reason she's so obsessed with it is because if we let her just go on it all the time, she just gets used to it. And guess what? She's just creating this routine, this pattern that she's happy with. And it's where she's getting all her, she's getting all her endorphins from it, isn't she? She's getting everything. It's like, whoa, I'm seeing the kids I am at school that I see at school. But what was really interesting, I was chatting to a lady at the gym the other day, and I said to her, I said, God, do your kids go on Roblox? And she was like, they don't, because they're a little bit older now. They're into like the PS3 or PS3. I don't know what we're on now, PS12 or something. I don't know.
Four, aren't we?
Oh,
or
are
is
we?
it five?
Oh, okay,
Probably
cool.
5, I don't know.
I don't know. I'd be happy with a Game Boy, to be fair. Love Tetris. But she said to me, she said, the thing is, she said, because the kids who haven't got the phones or haven't got the tablets, like, when I was a kid, we used to go and hang out by the tree and smoke cigarettes made out of newspaper. But like, they don't do any of that. They don't go fishing. And like, I don't want to sound like bloody some sort of J.R. Hartley advert, but like, that's what I used to do when I was a kid. Climb trees, get covered in mud, fall in the river. But they don't do any of that. Like,
no.
And then, but if they're not connected to that, then they feel like outsiders. So you've got this horrible, weird, like, I don't want my kid to feel left out, but at the same time, I also don't want them to be like, I don't want them to have these shoulders,
Yeah, and like can't deal with people face to face and have social issues.
I personally think like this is like, I don't know what's after the pandemic. It's an epidemic, isn't it? Is it when like I just don't understand how, like, I mean, I love AI, but I don't understand how the world is gonna like exist with like human, human to human communication. It's just,
I'm with you on. The world's moved very quick over the last few years.
Do you know what? You say that, but the world spins at the same speed every day. Did you know that?
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's like like I said earlier, we aren't designed to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're not designed to be talking to each other on a screen and everything like that. But if you think about it, how quick the world's changed from when we were growing up, and we were not that old.
We sound like the old people. You remember in was it the Muppets that the two old guys that sat up in the balcony? That's us. That's you and me.
If you think about it, it's not 100 years or anything like that. So how much the world has changed just from when we were young. Yeah. Right. So evolution takes like 100 years for like things to change and for our brain to accommodate. But life's moving very quick at the minute. And that's where you see mental health and people burn out and things like that, because our brains can't cope with it and everything's changing very quick. Which is sad. So I'm glad that you are helping everybody.
Yeah, so am I. And do you know what the crazy part about it is I want to let you into a little secret. By helping them, it then helps me as well, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. I'm seeing them win. I want to keep up with my own standards. Almost like my clients hold me accountable in a way as well, because I want to be true to what I do, right?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because we spoke about that before the podcast. One of the things that inspires me is coaches that live by what they say. And you definitely do. There's many out there that don't. That will
again. That's why I haven't got a Ferrari, because to be fair, let's be realistic. Like I said earlier, I can't get the dogs in there. So if you ever see me post a picture of a Ferrari, there'll be a picture of the van next to it where the dogs are, right?
I love that. So the final question, I ask it to everybody.
Oh.
It throws some people.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Andy, tell me 3 good things about yourself.
3 good things about myself. Really funny.
You are.
I love making people laugh.
Definitely.
Honestly, and I shit you not, Amy. I hear the joke when you hear it. I'm just as surprised as when that came out of my mouth as you are. And I love it. I love it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's my joke. Probably shouldn't laugh at that. So yeah, I'm funny and I'm going to admit to it. What was it? 3 things that people don't know about me.
No, 3 things that you like about you.
Oh, 3 things that I like about me. Yeah, I'm funny. Oh.
So yeah, I did tell you it throws people.
3 things I like about. Do you know what? One thing I definitely like about me is that I was able to. Oh, that was a. There was a tear that tried to get out of my eye. Then,
Oh,
bastard. I was able to verbalize to like my wife and my daughter that shit wasn't going well.
yeah,
That's one thing I like about myself,
yeah,
because I've seen so many people not be able to talk or not be able to verbalize those things. What's the other thing I like about myself? I love about myself. I think this is just what I love about life. I'm just going to ruin your question.
Oh, go on.
I love about the thing about myself is the way I feel when, like, you get those dips, but the way I can make myself feel better by like through listening to music.
Oh, I like that.
So like for me, like what music does to me is just like, and it can just control, like I talk about this with some of my clients, it's just like raising your vibration. But
yeah,
I just love the way that, do you know what? I don't think there's any shit music out there. And I just think that no matter what it is, it's expressing. So for me, I love the fact that I can just appreciate music.
yeah, I love that.
Mm.
Now you are
I'm gonna have
absolutely
to watch this podcast back now because I have no idea what the other 2 were.
That's fine. You need to work on your memory there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I was on a call with someone recently and they asked me what my pillars were for my coaching business. And I went, I don't know. It's not because I don't know, but when someone puts me, for me, I'm one of those people that go, oh, panic. And like, it's one of those things. It's very easy to sometimes, like, I find, scramble your own brain to go, I don't know. But actually, when you just go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
I don't need to know it as quick as your brain's trying to find it.
You are hilarious and I love your social media. So
thank you.
if people want to check out what Andy does, and you should do because he is hilarious, he's just naturally funny, where can they catch you?
So I'm mainly on Instagram, although I do love the TikTok and the YouTube. I'm gonna let people into a little secret. I just post the same thing. So yeah, on all of my social media platforms, I'm just Andy Coach Casey. So Andy Coach CASEY. But yeah, that's where you'll find me. And then my website is just coachcasey.co.uk.
Oh, that was great. You've been an absolutely amazing guest. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Technical problems when we jumped on Zoom, didn't we?
Yeah, we won't. This podcast was not sponsored by any internet providers, just for the record.
Oh, stop. Well, thank you. And anybody that's listening, I highly recommend that you follow Andy on all platforms, even though they post the same thing on every one. Just give him a follow.
Thanks for having me, Amy.
Thank you. Take care, my lovely.
See you soon.
Bye.